Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Z, actually Dragon Ball Z movie discussion. Now, discussion video. Anyway, guys, I am joined once again by the great, the freezing cold, the king of Icelandic frozen particle. Anyway, Nathan, what's up?
Hello,
I
thank
can't
you
think
for
of
that
anything.
warm intro.
I can't think of anything. Yeah, that warm intro, I love it. Anyway, guys, we have something interesting to talk to y'all about today, and basically, why is it that Paragus, the father of the legendary Super Saiyan, the father of Broly, one of the most reviled and lovable characters in all Dragon Ball history, why is he, at least in my opinion, maybe Nathan's well, maybe if he has something like he hasn't told me about up until before we started recording this, is he one of the most wasted characters in all of the Dragon Ball Z continuity? And before I start talking about this, I'm going to throw y'all over to a video that Nathan and I did on his channel where we discussed exactly how you could go about fixing the very first Broly movie, the first legendary Super Saiyan movie, and basically redevelop that movie, change it, just kind of retool it to be something completely different and something that would hopefully fans would like and everything. So definitely go make sure to listen to that one. It's really long, but it was a really fun video. It was just basically I just went on a freaking rant session
great.
in terms of anyway, Nathan Paragus, and he is one of the most wasted characters, at least in my opinion. And let me just get us started here. I feel like, and I mentioned this in the video that we did the other day, that Paragus is one of the most wasted characters in Dragon Ball Super, or not Dragon Ball Super. Man, I'm just so.
Oh my god.
One of the most wasted characters in Dragon Ball in general because, well, obviously he is a movie character, and better yet, a secondary movie character villain. He doesn't necessarily get as much character development as someone like even Broly for a little, as much as he even got. But at the same time, Paragus was an interesting concept because he represents kind of an elder Vegeta in that sense, like someone who was not just a child and remembers the heyday of exactly what was going on planet Vegeta during the time before Frieza blew it up. He was kind of, in some ways, he could have been interpreted in the same way that someone like Nappa could have, who was a little older, who had kind of an idea of how things were kind of put together. Not that Vegeta doesn't, but at the same time, you're a child. We don't necessarily know how Saiyans in general react to how they remember in terms of their youth or something. But to have a character who grew up in this society, who understood it, who worked in close tandem, kind of. I mean, I know he at least sought company or had some connection with King Vegeta at one point. He is an interesting character. The amount of depth, the amount of lore that could have been built just through him that we didn't necessarily know, or Vegeta probably didn't even know, in order to give us any kind of interpretation of what the Saiyans knew or were well aware of, or even their just greatest of myths and everything. Because if we look at Dragon Ball Super, we have Vegeta basically not knowing what a Super Saiyan God is, and maybe a lot of people didn't know, but maybe it was one of those really old myths that no one ever talked about besides some of the older people. Someone like Paragus would have kind of heard. And I just feel like having a character like that to be introduced, and his whole purpose to be for revenge instead of actually praising, like he came in like he was acting at the beginning of that movie and was praising King Vegeta, or Prince Vegeta, whatever you want to call him. And instead of him kind of going in there with this little undermined, I want to kill everyone with this comet that's about to hit this planet, if he was sincere, it would have been interesting to actually explore exactly what he knew about planet Vegeta, about how much Vegeta has actually changed since we met him and everything. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that if he sort of gave something of value, maybe he explained a bit of lore about Planet Vegeta, then he wouldn't be so wasted. And like, I feel like he didn't really have a personal connection with Vegeta, which sort of was in tandem with his wastefulness. He was a wasted character for sure. But yeah, so if he even explained some lore that we had no idea about for Planet Vegeta, till he could just make something up, then he wouldn't be so wasted, and he was simply just a plot device at the end of the day, which is very disappointing. And yeah, it really does suck that he's a plot device, because he's not even like, he's a villain, but he doesn't act like one. He could have been this evil mastermind, and he was for some of the film, but they should have capitalized on that, and they should have made the focus on Paragus instead of Broly. I feel like they missed the boat on that one, so that's why I think he is a wasted character. Simply, he's a plot device, and that really sucks, really.
No, I completely agree. And, one of the weird things about him in terms of, like, just the amount of knowledge that Paragus possessed about basically not only where Vegeta was, but also understanding and knowing who Goku was, and all these kind of weird inconsistencies with his character. It kind of gives you this idea, even though we don't necessarily know a whole lot about him, we understand that he is conniving enough, he understands enough about Saiyan culture, he understood enough about who Saiyans were, and lineages or something. And it's something that we talked about in that video that we did the other day. Dragon Ball Minus, kind of, if we take that in terms of canon, even though it came well after this first Broly movie where we actually got to meet Paragus, the fact that Saiyans were kind of few and far between, very low in numbers, it gives a lot of kind of weight to this idea that Paragus might have been, at least if he was like an older man, even just like a younger man, even to the degree that like what he'd be like Goku and Vegeta's age at the time the movie started, by the time that the planet blew up, then he would have actually understood, gotten to know, and actually started to have relationships with all these people. He would have known Bardock, he would have known King Vegeta and Nappa, and he would have known about Raditz and everything. At least, to me, if we look at the way the movie interprets his character, it's at least can be assumed that he had far more knowledge about like what had been transpiring, what had occurred during the time of Planet Vegeta's destruction and everything than we're actually given like kind of confirmation of during the particular movie in question. And I feel like that's one of the things that I definitely wish they would have actually kind of explored more, as they decided to kind of make this movie and introduce a character that was somewhat attached to the Saiyan arc or the Saiyan presence, the Saiyan homeworld. And maybe, I'm not saying he had to be the legendary Super Saiyan himself, like I've said in that. So I'm just keep throwing, guys. If you haven't seen that video, please go see that video. We had a lot of fun making it, and we threw in some really good ideas there. We discussed exactly why it might be, this could be like a cooler version, but at the same time, like, at least the way I'm thinking of it is, one thing I would really love to see from that movie, instead of the awesome fight scenes that we got, and no one can say those fight scenes weren't awesome, but just having Paragus just kind of give us a bunch of explanation, exposition to some degree, and just kind of explain more and more about what Saiyan culture was like, and build up characters in order to kind of emphasize the depth and growth of someone like Vegeta throughout the film, would have been something a lot more pleasurable to watch than just kind of a 40-minute fight scene, or 20 minutes, however long that fight scene was. Even though it was cool, I know a lot of people probably disagree with that, but it's just something I believe. It's just I want more character development. I want more character interactions with people who can actually help us kind of understand how far certain characters have grown. And he would have been a perfect person to actually do this. I feel in general he is a complete waste of a character, even though he is, but without a doubt, in my opinion, one of the coolest concepts that this series has ever brought to the table in terms of, I'm talking about Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Super. Now that we have multiverses and we have people who can stop time and people who are immortal and, copies of Goku and everything, Paragus, as simple and as stupid as he was, as useless to even the most main plot, his own maniacal scheme as he was, I feel like he was he's an incredible waste of a character just because of how cool and how much knowledge we could have grasped from the Saiyan culture just from him. Anyway, Nathan, do you have anything to say after all that?
Yeah, just one thing. I feel like if they ever do another movie, like if they made like a special after Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, it could have been set in the past from Paragus's point of view, and instead of Bardock explaining, well, not explaining, but being the forefront of Planet Vegeta and sort of like through Bardock's eyes we see what Planet Vegeta is like, instead of Bardock, it could be Paragus, which would be really cool. So like I think maybe like Paragus is like sort of a bit more depressed than Bardock, sort of despises the Saiyans a bit more, especially after what he did to his son. I think that if we saw Paragus's point of view of what Planet Vegeta was like at the time, that would be really cool because, as you said, he's an older dude, and yeah, it would be really cool to see.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's something that maybe that's a future video down the line or something. But anyway, guys, we're going to leave it up to you. I want you to go into the comment section below and tell me what you think about Paragus. Do you think after everything that you've heard here, do you think that he's a wasted character, or do you still think that he's just kind of a useless character that wouldn't have given us any real depth or anything, regardless of anything that we've said here or anything that you believe? Tell us if you think he's a worthless character. Make sure to go check out Nathan and his video. I'm going to link the video we did in the description below, so make sure to go check that one out. It was a really good video. I really hope y'all like it if you decide to go see it, and give me some time. Like, I know it's a long one, but I do think that you'd be happy with the result. Anyway, Nathan, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Anytime.
All right, guys. We're going to catch you in the next discussion. Hope y'all liked it. Bye.